Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Here is, as promised, a little film study investigation of the Triple G Lemieux and Saunders Lemieux fights and a Golovkin hater's perspective on them versus my perspective. Anyway, let's briefly check out what Boxing Gossip had to say about Triple G's performance against David Lemieux.
Enter the ring when it comes to the stoppage. I watched the Wires video. He said that the stoppage was a ridiculous stoppage. I wholeheartedly agree with him. I'm not taking anything away from Golovkin, by the way. I'll come on to that in a minute. But this was a very, very, very poor stoppage. David Lemieux, he was losing every round, but he was getting beaten as well. He was losing every round badly, but he wasn't getting knocked out.
So this is from the same guy that didn't say anything about the AJ Klitschko stoppage, right? He admits Lemieux was getting beaten badly, losing every round, but Klitschko AJ was a seesaw battle, and it looked like AJ was gonna punch himself out and run out of energy, just like he did in the early going of the fight, right? Like he does in all of his tough fights. His stamina tends to wane. But anyway, that wasn't a bad stoppage, but Golovkin Lemieux was a bad stoppage. And then he goes on he gives Golovkin credit eventually, but he's mostly just criticizing Lemieux and basically paints Lemieux as a very poor, not a very good fighter. And that's okay. But, he doesn't have a very high opinion of Golovkin, and to him Golovkin is, well, let's see what he thinks about Golovkin.
Robert Stieglitz, he's being schooled by Andre Durrell. Now, I think GGG's upside is maybe higher than Arthur Abraham's, but it's not inconceivable something similar could happen to Triple G at super middleweight. Because to my eye, the guy is limited outside of power. He's got no inside game. He's got no back foot game. His defense, let's be honest, his defense is terrible. He is so hittable. And yet people are saying, they buy into the rumours of this guy. Triple G could have ended it against William Monroe Jr. in round 2. No, he couldn't have. If he could have ended it.
So, Triple G is basically just basic, has no defense, has no inside game. I guess he never saw the Kasim Uma fight. Is very hittable. Maybe I said that already. Has no defense, right? All he has is power, basically. Well, if that's what you believe, then maybe you're not going to give him a whole bunch of credit for the Lemieux fight. But let's check out how much credit he gave to Billy Joe Saunders for his Lemieux performance.
Welcome to the Boxing Gossip channel. Review of Billy Joe Saunders versus David Lemieux. My belief is that last night we witnessed a masterclass in a boxing ring. I've been following Billy Joe Saunders for a long time. Long-time viewers of this.
Oh, what a proper twat. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean, but that's just hilarious. Anyway, you should check out those videos if you want a good laugh, because this shit is hilarious. But anyway, we're going to get down to business and look at what happened. And, look, if you're a Triple G fan and you know a thing or two about boxing, you already know this stuff, but fuck it. Let's break it down anyway, and hopefully somebody could send this video to Boxing Gossip. And look, I got no problem with the guy. He admits he's a Triple G hater. He has a pretty good channel, a lot of good insight, don't get me wrong. I didn't like the fact that he rejects reality and he's completely biased and he's a fanboy, but whatever, man. We all go through that stage of our boxing fandom where we're just fanboys, and it is what it is. But you know, we're just gonna treat this as an educational video, and you know, we're gonna just jump into this film study. And given the fact that Billy Joe Saunders followed the blueprint that Golovkin wrote, we're gonna start with the blueprint, and then we're gonna get to the copycat, and we'll just talk about their respective performance against, well, on the surface, the same fighter. However, in this fight, Triple G was fighting a Lemieux that had a belt and was coming off a 9 streak of victories with 7 stoppage wins. And in his last 3 fights, Lemieux beat Fernando Guerrero, Gabe Rosado, and Hassan Endam Injikam, a fight in which he won the title, right? By the time he fought Billy Joe Saunders, he had already taken a beating from Golovkin, obviously, and was 4-2, had a streak of 4-0 rather, with 2 stoppage wins, and the only really worth mentioning victory in that streak was knocking out Curtis Stevens, who basically just stood in front of him, right? So anyway, even though it's the same fighter, it's not the same Lemieux. It's not the same fighter. Golovkin is fighting a much better fighter. But that's obvious. See how Triple is I hate these ads. Controlling distance, right? Right off the bat. When Lemieux wants to set off his offense, Triple G takes little steps back, right? Or leans back. He's moving his head, leaning back and stepping back, you see? Popping the jab, holding the center of the ring, and just working the jab and hitting them. Not too cleanly yet, but lots of jabs, right? See how he controls distance? How fast his feet are? As soon as he's done punching and Lemieux wants to do some work, Golovkin, he's not there anymore, right? He's just controlling distance wonderfully with... Look at his feet. I mean, you can't see his feet, but look at his legs right there. Boop. I mean, you know, no bouncing, just moving in and out, side to side, no up and down movement, right? Very minimal. Small steps, just enough to get out of range, see? Small little steps, but always in position. Even though he's retreating, he stops and he's dangerous because he's constantly in position to lead and counter, right? Counter, lead and counter. Fighter. Even though right now he's boxing him, right? Taking the center of the ring when he gets backed up just a little bit. Not taking any punches yet, right? And not really... He's established a jab, but he's not landing it very well yet. But he's established it, and he's pushing David to the ropes. See how he controlled him right there? When David wants to get close, Golovkin controls him, right? Sticks that jab out there, and David can't hit him, right? He's controlling. Excellent defense, right? This guy has no defense. Are you kidding me? What are you watching, fanboys? Or haters? Look at that. Right? Shoulder roll, doesn't get touched with anything, lands a hard jab. That's what I'm talking about. You see? Lead. And then get out of there with little steps. And counter. Boom. Misses the counter. But look at the defense, man. Right hand by the chin. Left hand countering. He's out of range. When David oversteps his boundary, the counters are coming, right? Blocking everything. Boom. Controlling them with the jab. These are very hard probes, man. See how he controls them with the jab? Doesn't allow David to get close to him, right? Just controls him. Doesn't get hit with anything. Blocks. Tries to get his hands on every punch of Lemieux. Got him in the corner, right? He's beating him to the body a little bit. He's in full control. He's in full control of his body, Golovkin is, and David Lemieux. Not 100% of the time, but basically gets touched with a little body shot there, right? David jumps him a little bit. He has to use his footwork to get out of there, but, you know, he doesn't get out of position very much, right? And he's right, plants his feet really quickly, gets out of there, plants his feet, and is ready to counter. David has to back up, right? Jumps out of position, but plants his feet right away and comes forward. Very, very minimal. He's doing a lot, but he's not wasting any movement, right? Boom. Controls, look at that. Look at that excellent sticking and moving, right? First of all, look at the defense. When David wants to throw, he blocks the punches, he rolls the punches, he swats the punches down, and as he's backing away, he's not going back in a straight line, he's circling, right? Boom, popping the jab on the move. Can't fight going backwards, right? Can't fight going backwards. Okay. That's the first round. Golovkin from the very beginning is in complete control. He's controlling the distance. He's controlling his opponent. He's in control of himself, his body, and doesn't get hit with anything except maybe one little body shot, and even puts a beating on David for a split second, gets him to the ropes, holds the center of the ring, lands a few hard jabs, hard body shot, and doesn't really get touched, right? Now let's compare Billy Joe Saunders' first round against David Lemieux. That's, you know, no longer the same. If you don't think that beating by Golovkin took something out of him, I'm not saying it took a whole ton out of him, but, you know, if they allowed that beating to go on, like boxing gossip wanted it to, then maybe Curtis Stevens would have knocked out David Lemieux. If they allowed that Golovkin beating to go on, and Golovkin was allowed to beat on David Lemieux for a few more rounds till he legitimately knocked him out, maybe he wouldn't have gotten past Curtis Stevens. Who knows, right? So, anyway, I'm not saying a lot was taken out of him, but he was no longer the same fighter, if only by a little bit, right? Anyway, you see Saunders using his footwork. Well, he's more aggressive off the bat. He just jumps. But he's controlling the distance, and he jumps on Lemieux, right? He gets off balance and out of position, right? Doesn't land anything. Throws some sloppy punches, gets a little bit off balance, but he's in control so far, right? He's looking to control David maybe with this jab. But he's giving up ground constantly, right? And his jab is very insecure. I know it's early. Oh, what the fuck was that? Masterclass. Oh, God. What is he doing? Ooh, sloppy shit, right? Jumps in with some sloppy shit, falls off balance, slapping with his punches, takes a body shot, right? He's not controlling the distance. He's maintaining distance, but he's not controlling his opponent, right? Can't land anything yet. I know it's early. Pops the jab, goes to the body with the left hand twice. It's a good idea. Right? Is maintaining distance, but can't control David. Has to run out of there. David is able to get his shots off. Lands to the body, gets him on the rope. Right? Slaps a bunch of illegal punches. But no real assertive jab. Controlling his opponent, just swings these wild punches and gets himself out of position a lot, and then has to run and get out of there because David is looking to counter, and Billy Joe has no control of his opponent, right? But he has fast feet, and he's able to, excuse me, man, that felt good. But he's able to get out of there and not get hit, right? But he's not the ring general and could do better to control his opponent so that he doesn't have to run, right? Can't land anything, can't establish anything. He throws a lot, but not really landing anything. Slapping, no legal blows, takes a right hand to the body, gets pushed to the ropes and runs, right? Runs out of there. Maybe landed a little jab there. Nothing. Bunch of slaps. That was a nice uppercut, man. Didn't really set it up, just feinted and jumped in with an uppercut. But it really just pissed off David, who stepped in and looks like he landed a right hand, right? Grazed him. Didn't really land. But he's throwing punches at him, and Billy Joe has to run. I don't know what that was, but nothing. Bunch of slaps. Gets pushed to the ropes, is holding, right? Can't control his opponent. David is able to close the distance on him and get him to the ropes. Not to say that David's scoring himself. Gets him with the right hand to the body there as Billy Joe Saunders runs. See, he jumped straight back and took that right hand. Then he circled out, but, man, he was circling into the right hand. Ooh. I guess David already, got a shot off and got off balance, so that was okay, but a bad habit. Oh, gets hit with the right hand and sent to the ropes, right? Doesn't have any control of his opponent. David is able to feint him out of position. Billy Joe begins to run away and turns into the right hand, right? Circles into the right hand. Bad habit, right? Gets hit. Runs, right? Out of position. Unable to control the opponent, but maintains good distance and is able to get out of there, right? Now, in comparison to what Triple G was able to do, you could see that Billy Joe is employing the same game plan, the same strategy, but he's not as successful. He got hit a little bit, not anything crazy, but got hit a little bit, is not able to control his opponent. He's not really in control of anything. He just outboxed him ever so slightly. But, Golovkin was already putting damage on his opponent. He was getting him to the ropes. He was starting the breaking down process by going to the body. And was always more often than Billy Joe, was in position to land punches, which is why he landed more punches and was able to accumulate a little bit of damage on David Lemieux already, right? But Golovkin was the ring general. He was in control of everything, right? So, I know it's just the first round, but if Billy Joe painted a masterclass or masterpiece, what did Triple G do? Anyway, round 2 of the Triple G Lemieux fight. Boom. Now Triple G is leading and countering, right? While stepping off the line. Wow. Can Billy Joe do this? I'm going to say no. Right? Lands a jab. I don't know if it lands or not, but avoids the counter, gets grazed a little bit. Steps to the left and off the line, and lands a perfectly executed left hook. See how he turns into that left hook? Not all this like jumping in with this wild slapping shit. This is beautiful boxing right here. This is textbook beautiful, this is boxing right here. Boom, right? And he's right back in there. He didn't set off a combination and start holding or got out of there. He's got his man on defense because he's landing hard punches and outboxing them, right? Avoids the counter, is just dominating. Look at the footwork by Triple G, right? Look how much more athletic he is than Saunders. It's not exaggerated. It's exactly what it needs to be. Look at that jab, right? How unbalanced he is. How he's protecting his chin and landing his jab on Lemieux, getting Lemieux out of position. right? Just taking little steps back to maintain distance, and boom. But he's always, see, that's just the thing. He doesn't get out of position like Billy Joe Saunders. Just steps just far enough away to be able to come back with the counter, right? Gives himself and lands a hard jab, hard head snapping jab, right? And it's just a constant jab in his face, right? See how he just steps out of range and he's ready to counter. Either control his opponent as he's going back or counter. There he gets caught with the little left jab from Lemieux. But, you know, when you're an aggressive fighter looking to dictate every second of every round, you're going to get hit. But look at how much, bam, gets his lick back. Look at how much damage he's accumulating on Lemieux, right? Look at the differential here. Snapping his head back constantly, right? Did you see that? Like, how minimal that was? How it was exactly what it needed to be and no more. And then, boom. See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Maintains distance so that he's able to counter because he doesn't get out of position. He gives himself many more opportunities to land his punches, right? Sending him to the ropes, nullifying him, controlling him, landing many more punches than... Well, we'll see what Billy Joe's second round looks like. But Golovkin's got hit with one punch and has just been hitting Lemieux with one punch after another. Mostly the jab. Look at the lateral movement. Head movement, it's minimal. Shoulder roll. Look at the balance. I mean, he's just right there. He doesn't have to run like Billy Joe. Look at that footwork, man. See, Billy Joe, in this instance, would be just gliding along the ropes, running with his hands down, way out of position where he can't land anything. He would be nullifying Lemieux too. He would be safe, but he wouldn't be threatening to Lemieux like Triple G, right? Triple G is doing essentially the same thing as Saunders, except so much more, right? He gets out of there, but he's right back in and throwing punches, and now he's dictating, sitting down on his shots, right? Pushing David Lemieux back. Just outlanding him by a wide margin. Outboxing him with ease, right? Gets hit a little bit on the shoulder, maybe, I don't know. Right? Just shoulder rolls these punches, constantly changing the angle, using his footwork. Not getting hit with anything. There he's forced to run a little bit, but he's right back into position. Right back in the center of the ring. See how he took the center of the ring? Going down to the body with hard punches. Breaking him down already, putting a whooping on him, right? Why? Well, because he's always in position to punch and has excellent defense, where it's very difficult to hit him, right? Saunders showed us that he had the power to bother Lemieux and stop him eventually, but he wasn't able to accumulate punishment like Triple G started to in the very first round and never looked back. He's in complete control. See, David Lemieux is already cracking mentally, complaining to the ref. More of the same from Triple G, right? In complete control of his opponent, his body, and starting to accumulate punishment now and putting a beating on David Lemieux and having David Lemieux feel a little bit sorry for himself already. You know what I mean? Let's look at the second round of Billy Joe Saunders' performance. Right? He's doing essentially the same thing as Triple G, but there's no very assertive jab. Right? He's sloppy. He's very sloppy. The movements are exaggerated. He's wasting a lot more energy, right? He gets hit. Maybe not really, but he's in danger all the time. He's in more danger than Triple G because he has no control of his opponent. There, maybe he gets him with a little jab. He's maintaining a distance, and he's able to avoid the counter, right? But has to hold. That's the only way he could control David, right? Is by holding, doing illegal shit. Gets hit with the little right hand. He ducks. He cowers under the, bends under the waist and gets hit with the right hand, like Rigondeaux was getting hit by Lomachenko. Takes a little right hand counter there, right? Because he doesn't have control of David. David is able to set off his counters. Now Billy Joe gets a nice jab and left hand in there, but it only really just pisses off Lemieux. And he has to get out of there, right? He has to really get out of position and run because Lemieux is pissed off now, right? He can't control him. He has to run. But he's outboxing him, but, gets countered. He's winning, don't get me wrong, and he's trying to do what Golovkin did, but doesn't have the boxing skill. See how exaggerated everything is? And I suppose he has to hold and spoil. And I suppose, because it is so exaggerated, just got cracked a couple times. It's easier to see and notice, right? Takes a right hand. Has to cower, bend under the waist. Is not really setting up his punches with the jab like Golovkin. He's just jumping in with these crazy wild punches, and I don't know. It's hard to see if it lands, but there's no power on that. Right? Has no control of Lemieux. Lemieux is countering him at will, and Billy Joe is able to slip all the counters, right? So credit to him. He's a skillful fighter. He's doing well, but he has to get out of position. He's not able to counter David Lemieux himself, right? Because he's so exaggerated and has to get so far out of position and out of range. There he's able to counter him a little bit, and he's boxing well. But David is the ring general. He's controlling the center of the ring. Not anymore, but for the most part he is. Billy is able to get into the center of the ring, but has to give ground again, right? He got him trapped in the center of the ring now. He's not really landing anything, but he's outboxing him, right? Moving around a lot, but not really getting much done. Clearly winning. There he gets him with the little right hand, left hand was able to time him, but gets caught on the ropes and gets hit, right? The jab is really limp. There's nothing on it. He's not putting any damage on David Lemieux yet, right? He's in the danger zone a lot because he has no control of his opponent. He has to use all this exaggerated movement to get out of the way of punches. But, there he's able to jump David Lemieux and hit him off balance a little bit, but has to run because he's really just pissing him off, right? And then gets hit with the right hand and runs and runs and runs. Right? Threw him off balance with that shot. Then got all smothered himself, right? Got all sloppy. Masterclass, come on, man. That was a nice punch right there, right? Got him off balance with that, but then he misses everything else, starts spitting all over himself. He's flying up in the air, pushing these wild arm punches that don't land on anything, right? Masterclass. Anyway, let's skip through Golovkin fight to the end, and then we'll come back to Billy Joe's fight. So we're in round 3 right now. I think anyway. Yeah. Right? Golovkin's right there. He's right in front of him. Not really, but he's not running away. He's not getting out of position. He's right there, but he's not getting hit with anything, right? And he's able to hit Lemieux. He's changing levels. It's a lot more minimal. He's able to, he just remains in full control, man. And that jab, which is the basis of boxing, right? Is just in his face constantly. Golovkin's in his face constantly. But David can't hit him, right? Because Golovkin has no defense. He's easy to hit. What a joke. Right? David can't touch him. What do you mean this guy has no defense? He has far better defense than Billy Joe Saunders. What are you talking about? You see how much Billy Joe is getting hit? Compared to, like, Golovkin's not even getting touched. David was able to cry. I mean, and the punches he's accumulating. So he's landing a lot more on Lemieux, a better version of Lemieux than Billy Joe was able to land. And he's not getting hit as much as Billy Joe's getting hit. And in every round, he makes sure to accumulate some damage. There he got hit a little bit with one jab, but he's right back to work, pushing him back and landing his own punches. And in every round, he makes sure to land some hard shots, especially to the body, and break him down because he's in position, right? He doesn't get way the hell out of position where he can't land anything effective. He's always on balance, always in position, right? Leading and countering. His technique is much sharper. He's not throwing these wild, crazy arm punches that miss everything. His punches are usually on target, right? Always on defense, doesn't get hit with anything cleanly. And always make sure to put a beating on David, right? Is able to get him on the ropes and put a beating on him systematically. Till he's able to just beat him down, bloody him up. You know, he starts knocking him down and David just checks out. He just can't take the body punches anymore. He can't take the punishment. He can't win any of the rounds. He just kind of dips down, as I remember it, when he gets hit to the body and the referee sees that David is ready to... Oh my God, look at this beating he's taking, right? Getting his head snapped back all night. Golovkin's in full control. That's the first knockdown, right? I believe it was a body shot. Boom. See how he set up the body shot like how he does? Can Billy Joe Saunders do this? Billy Joe jumps in with like this crazy shit and hey, whatever lands, it lands. I'm just going to start throwing punches at him and I'm going to land. This whole thing that Golovkin does here is all about the body shot. It's just keeping him occupied upstairs and then bam, setting up the one body shot that produces the knockdown, right? It's technique, strategy, it's boxing skill, right? This guy has so much more than power. The reason why he hits with power is because he's always in position, he's on balance, and he has excellent athleticism where he's in such great control of his body, right? He has a strong core, strong legs, and he's just a strong athletic dude where when he throws punches, he's able to control himself and not fall all off balance. When he gets out of range, he doesn't have to get all off balance and out of position. He's able to, in succession, step out of range, but then rein that momentum in, right? Because he's strong enough to stop himself and control exactly the distance. He's able to control his body basically and how much he moves with exact precision, where he doesn't waste a lot of energy and that's how he's able to land these hard punches, right? Billy Joe Saunders' style might be described as athletic because it relies it's a lot more exuberant, it's a lot more exaggerated, it's easier to see, easier to comprehend, and understand and talk about, right? This is so much more minimal and so much more efficient, even though that he's doing essentially the same thing that Billy Joe Saunders is doing, or at least trying to do, except he's able to do so much more for all those reasons that I just described to you, right? And he's given himself many more chances to hit his opponent and took those chances and capitalized on them, while at the same time not getting hit. There he got cracked, right? But this shit will happen when you're constantly throwing punches and going after your opponent, right? You're gonna get hit. But he comes right back and he's able to hit, gets his lick back, right? There he runs out of there. But you see how he's circling out and not getting hit, right? He's not going straight back. He's circling out. Kind of got grazed a little bit there. David is actually having a decent round here. But, takes a beating nonetheless. And eventually they stop the fight because they just, they're worried about David Lemieux's health. David starts running. You know the rest, right? That was Triple G's performance. Let's briefly skip through what Billy Joe Saunders did. What is this, round 4? Billy Joe's taking body shots. Right, David is boxing with him. Not really landing anything, but he got him in the corner. Right, hit him with the body shot. Looks like he got hit a little bit there. But there's no real consistent jab. There's a lot of holding. There's a lot of bending below the waist. There's a lot of spoiling. There's slapping going on, right? Bad punch technique. Maybe get some there with an uppercut. I don't know. Shitty quality. Nice good footwork, and he's outboxing him clearly. Nice jab. Gets out of there. You see how after he sets off his punch, he doesn't have control of his opponent, right? So David is able to come back, but his arms are too short to land anything. But Saunders is not able to control him either. A lot of these punches that Saunders lands are not very strong. He can't commit to anything because he has no control of his opponent after he throws that shot. So he's always thinking about defense after he gets his punches off. And he has to get out of there because he doesn't know how to control his opponent. And punches are flying right back at him, right? So he has to hold and spoil and waste all of our time. The crowd booed him at some point for running away and spoiling and holding. Never really put any significant damage on David because David was always dangerous to him. Right, got him on the ropes, hit him with a lot of punches actually. Not a whole ton of punches, but David was landing his punches too. Especially to the body, right? And Billy Joe couldn't hit David Lemieux with not nearly as many punches as Golovkin landed. For all those reasons. See there, he just took a body shot again. There's a good little punch by Billy Joe out of the clinch. But he's basically doing the same thing that Golovkin did, or trying to anyway. Control distance and outbox this guy. But even though he's able to control distance, there he lands a nice punch after holding and hitting Lemieux. But he's able to control the distance, but he's never really able to control David Lemieux. He's not really in control of his body to the degree where sometimes he is, like right there he was, right? He has moments of brilliance. Bam, right there. He stepped just out of range and was able to counter, right? That's what Golovkin was doing. But you see how this is how he goes to the body. He can't really set anything up. Slaps some of his punches there, like just doesn't quite have the boxing skill of Golovkin. Technique's not as good, gets off balance a lot. Right? See how he just got off balance there? Whoop. Had to readjust his footwork. He's sloppy. Billy Joe is sloppy. He's not really in control of his own body like Golovkin is. You know what I'm saying? He's not as athletic as Golovkin. He doesn't have as strong of a core. His legs are not as strong. There he's moving well, but he's not able to capitalize, right? Even though he's controlling distance, he can't quite control David. He's able to catch him with some nice shots or one nice punch there, puts him on the ropes, and nullifies him with the choke hold. You know, but it gets very sloppy also, and there's a lot of running away by Billy Joe and spoiling tactics, and the crowd starts booing, and he got criticized by some people for running, which he also did in this fight. The jab's not very assertive, right? There's a lot of foot movement, but he's moving a lot more than Golovkin, but accomplishing a lot less. So he's wasting a lot of movement. He's not landing a whole ton of punches, holding and hitting, you know. He schooled Lemieux. Don't get me wrong. He outboxed him. He schooled him. But the reason why he didn't knock him out, he didn't stop him, even though he showed that he had the power to do that, right? And he backs away straight out with this. He's not always able to control the distance. He does get hit doing this stuff, you know. Lemieux legitimately won 2 rounds, at least 2 rounds in this fight. If you watch it and you're not mesmerized by the masterclass, you'll see that Lemieux won at least 2 rounds. And went all 12. Billy Joe had some scary moments. There he gets hit with the hard right hand, right? Boom. Has to hold. Lemieux was able to hit him. Has no control. Now Lemieux's controlling him a little bit. Hits him to the body, looks like. And there's nothing from Saunders, right? Nothing. Just kind of probing with the jab, trying to see what's up. Not landing it very hard, right? Gets hit with another right hand to the body. Dances away. He's way out of position. This is nonsense. This isn't anything. He's not scoring anything. Just jumping up and down like an amateur. Right? Almost gets hit because he's predictable and bouncy and it's easy to time him. Now he's fighting like a professional fighter. Running, getting out of position a lot. Like, he's not landing all these punches that Golovkin was landing, right? Because he doesn't have the boxing skill. Doesn't have the ability. He's not able to break David down. He's not able to see. The more the fight goes on, the more he runs. Crowd boos. And, he outboxes David. He lands more punches than David does. But he has to spoil a lot. His punches aren't as sharp. He's not setting up his punches as well as Golovkin, right? He gets hit a lot more than Golovkin got hit, while at the same time not hitting David Lemieux as much himself. A very good performance, impressive performance. He did well, but he employed the Golovkin blueprint and didn't do it quite as well as Golovkin did. And that's just the reality, for all the reasons I already pointed out. Boxing skill being the most important one. So, and if that was a masterclass, what do you call what Golovkin did? What do you call that? I wonder. Because it was by far superior to what Saunders was able to do. So if we're going to call that masterclass, what do we call this? You know what I mean? We need a term that's superior to what Billy Saunders did. Anyway, Golovkin's a lot more, especially in control of his own body, right? Where he doesn't flail, he doesn't fall off balance, he's not sloppy, he doesn't swing all these wild slaps like Saunders does. So it's a lot more subtle in a way, even though the results are not subtle at all, right? You're in control of yourself, and you start controlling your opponent, and it's very controlled violence, sweet science, and complete and utter destruction. Schooling, definite schooling, but at the same time destruction because of how he does it and how athletic this guy is and how underrated his boxing skill is, because, it's not for noobs, man. It's not for newbies. It's not for fanboys. It's for people who understand the sweet science. They know what they're looking at. And those are the people that appreciate Golovkin. The real boxing fans who don't so much care to talk about, the sweet science and brag about the sweet science because, they get it. They understand it. And Golovkin is the epitome of that. And Billy Joe Saunders is a cheap fucking imitation, all right? So keep it real, motherfucker. And I'm talking to you, boxing gossip. If you want credibility up in this bitch, learn a thing or two, all right? Before you start challenging Golovkin fans and talking shit about Golovkin fans, right? The true fans of the sport who understand the sweet science, unlike you, sucker. Before you start calling us out and making all these nonsensical statements like Golovkin is easy to hit and doesn't have any defense, all he has is power. Before you spit that garbage nonsense, learn a thing or two about boxing, sucker, because both you and I know that you just started watching the sport, all right? Take it easy, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening, and goddamn, man. You know what Golovkin needs to do with Canelo? This is how he needs to fight Canelo. Like this. Box his ass. And that's how he gets the stoppage. You know what I mean? I hope to God that's how he fights Canelo. I know it's not the same Golovkin anymore, but I really hope to God that's how he fights Canelo. Anyway, once again, thank you for listening. And boxing gossip, man, keep your fucking mouth shut about Triple G fans, because you're going to hear from us. You understand? Peace out.